All right, just waiting for my video to load up just to make sure it doesn't cut anything off the beginning. And there we go. What's up, guys? This is Bumpkins. We're here with Comics Daily Weekly episode number 22. Today I'm going to be talking about Marvel Comics from May of 1968. Guys, if you don't know what Comics Daily Weekly is, basically it is a weekly stream that I do talking about the various Silver Age Marvel comics that I read throughout the week. So what happens is I read one or two comics from the Silver Age every single day. Every week I cover a month's worth of comics. So this week, like I said, I'll be talking about comics from May 1968. Last week we talked about comics from April 1968. Next week it's going to be comics from June 1968. And the whole point is to experience these books as they came out originally. So we get to see new characters appear for the first time. We get to see new creative teams come on the books. We get to see character development, relationships form, relationships dissolve, that kind of stuff. So if you want to keep track of all this stuff as I read them, you can follow me on either of these accounts down here at underscore Comics Daily on Twitter or underscore Comics Daily IG on Instagram. I post screenshots, musings, things that I notice as I'm reading these. I post all that kind of stuff on both of these accounts, so either one or both if you like. And you can follow along with me every day as I read them. And then we come here on Monday nights to sort of go over all of them from the past week. So, with that said, the comics we're going to be looking at today are Amazing Spider-Man number 60, Incredible Hulk number 103, Iron Man number 1, Captain America number 101, Daredevil number 40, Avengers number 52, Strange Tales number 168, that's the last Strange Tales we'll be reading, Fantastic Four number 74, and Captain Marvel number 1, the original Kree Captain Marvel, the green and white Captain Marvel, if you will. So that's actually more books than I've ever talked about before. That's 9 books total. It was, up until a week or two ago, it was only 6 books a week. And then Saturday was like a wild card day, but we are getting into some more books now, and it's not even as many as we're going to get into once we hit the 70s. So Iron Man and Captain America, they split into their own titles, so that doubled up the books. I decided to pick up The Incredible Hulk since he split out of Tales to Astonish. Strange Tales is wrapping up, but we've got Nick Fury coming next week. Picked up Captain Marvel as well, so I don't know how long I'll be able to keep up with this many books and talking about this many books per week, but I'm going to try for a while. So, and I don't want to make this, I don't like to make these videos too long, so we're going to jump right into it and talk about Amazing Spider-Man number 60. This is the second part of a 3-part story. The third one I read yesterday on Sunday the 10th and posted about it on these accounts. But this issue in particular is the second part of a story where the Kingpin returns. And last issue, if you remember, Mary Jane got a job at as a go-go dancer, and it was secretly being run by the Kingpin. He was calling himself the Brainwasher. We didn't find out it was the Kingpin until the end of the issue. But he was having Mary Jane take pictures of some of the VIPs in that club, and that camera would brainwash them for whatever reason. We never really found out, because one of the people that she photographed that was brainwashed was Captain George Stacy. And he is the only one that we follow throughout this 3-part series. So this issue sort of deals with what is Kingpin gonna do now that Captain Stacy is brainwashed. So it starts off, though, with a fight between Spider-Man and Kingpin, because they came face-to-face at the end of last issue. And what happens in this issue is that, like I said, Captain Stacy, brainwashed. Kingpin actually recruits him, or commands him, I guess, to break into police headquarters and steal some police files. Now, I will go ahead and spoil a little bit next week to say we never really find out what Kingpin wants with those files, because the whole story becomes And a lot of that happens in this issue. The whole story becomes Peter realizing what happened. So we actually have a pretty interesting sequence here where Peter realizes what's happened to Captain Stacy, goes to confront him at his and Gwen's house, and he makes it look, he starts to attack Peter. You can see right here, he actually starts to attack Peter. Peter defends himself, knocks him over, and then that makes it look, in Gwen's eyes, that makes it look like Peter attacked her dad, and she's pretty pissed, right? So Peter, he actually gets some evidence together and sends it off to the Daily Bugle, which then, front page story, Captain Stacy's turned traitor. Of course, this really makes Gwen upset because her boyfriend has basically turned in her dad, but she doesn't yet realize that he's been brainwashed. So it's more of that old Parker luck. He's got himself between a rock and a hard place. Like, what are you supposed to do in that situation? You know that your girlfriend's dad is under the influence of something bad. You have to stop him, and you have to try to clear his name, but you also don't want to upset her. So that was, that's a pretty interesting story. Here is where Spider-Man realizes that, let's see, let me blow this up here. He's taken them to a soundproof steel-walled vault chamber where their vital records are stored. Because of his position, no one would question him. So this is basically the crux of why Kingpin wants Captain Stacy brainwashed, but we don't know why he wants those files. So what I told myself in order to be able to sleep at night is that the police must have some files about Kingpin's shady dealings, and Kingpin wants to get them and destroy them, something like that. They never go that far to explain it, but that's what I tell myself. So there's more fighting, but at the end of all this, Peter gets some pictures. You can see here on the last page, right down here, the last panel, ex-police official robs PD files. And, Gwen, why? It's a picture of, oh no, Dad committing a crime. And to make it worse, it was Peter who took the picture. So that's where we're left off. Captain Stacy is brainwashed. He broke into the police headquarters. Peter took some pictures, called him out in the newspaper. Gwen saw it. Gwen, Peter doesn't hold a lot of high esteem in Gwen's eyes right now, because she thinks he attacked her father. Like I said, she doesn't yet know that he's been brainwashed. So it's a pretty interesting circumstance that Peter finds himself in, and next issue we will see how he gets out of it. All right, so a little bit of a scheduling or a change of schedule in reading, and it actually is going to change again next week. So normally this is where I would have jumped into Tales of Suspense. We're done with Tales of Suspense. We're done with the Iron Man Submariner one-shot. And now we're moving on into Iron Man and Captain America. But first, we've got Incredible Hulk number 103. And again, next week, I actually reordered the books a little bit more next week. So it'll be different. But for right now, we're talking about Incredible Hulk number 103. And now the Space Parasite. So basically, I've only been reading Hulk I think I read the first issue, and then I dropped it. I didn't read any of Tales to Astonish. Then I picked up Hulk with issue 102 that I talked about last week, and now we're in 103. So the Hulk so far is, this issue at least, had a little bit more of a science fiction feel than a superhero feel. And Hulk, especially in the early days, isn't really portrayed much as a superhero. So this one is all about this alien called the Space Parasite, who actually tracks down the Hulk. You can see him here. And he wants to absorb the Hulk's strength so that he can do stuff, I guess. It's not really... This issue wasn't great. So, I didn't enjoy it anyway. The Space Parasite was kind of lame. It looks weird. But this alien, like I said, the Space Parasite wants to absorb the Hulk's strength. And it's basically just a big fight between the two of them. There's some debating on TV going on about the Hulk and what should be done with him. The Space Parasite does trick, or does sort of put a hypnotic suggestion into Betty's head, so that she sort of goes off on Bruce, which makes him turn into the Hulk again. Because when the Hulk goes back to Bruce, the Space Parasite can't find him anymore. Can't find the Hulk. Space Parasite attacks Bruce and Betty and Rick, which causes Bruce to Hulk out, and they fight. And it's kind of strange about this issue is we get like 3 pages here of the Space Parasite's origin, which is so bizarre because I don't think we ever see him again. Now, I might be wrong about that. We certainly don't see him from at least the 90s forward. He might show up again in the Bronze Age when we get to the 70s. I doubt it, though. So it's interesting that we get a 3-page origin of a character that we're never going to see again. But like I said, it's just a slugfest between these two. And you can see here, I mean, it's pretty cool. You know, Hulk smashes things, which is fun. But actually, it's the Space Parasite's own people up in space who blow up his ship. The Hulk defeats the Space Parasite. Down here, the Space Parasite decides to, you've won. I can't beat you. We're done. You vanquished me. GG. I'm going to go back to my spaceship. The Space Parasite's people actually find him, and they never wanted him to do what he was doing in the first place, so they blow up his ship and leave him right down here floating away in space. And that's it. That's it for the Space Parasite. And then we get an ending that's going to lead us into next issue, which I'll be reading on Wednesday. The police have Hulk surrounded after he transforms back to Bruce Banner. So not a great issue, a one and done. These old Hulk issues I don't love them, but I haven't read a lot of them either. So I know there's an issue coming up with a leader. I think maybe next issue has the Rhino. So I'm hoping that once we get into some actual villains, super villains, it might be a little bit cooler. But this one just fighting random weird aliens, it didn't do it for me. But it's fine. We're going to keep going with it. So next up, we've got Iron Man #1. So this Iron Man in his first solo series, up until this point, he has only been in Tales of Suspense. Well, I say that. He only Tales of Suspense or Avengers is where you've seen Iron Man. And of course, last week he did have the Iron Man Submariner one-shot, which serves as a bridge between Tales of Suspense and Tales to Astonish, bridging those characters into their own titles. So here we have Iron Man #1. This is the conclusion of the storyline that we've been reading for the last 4 issues. This is the 4th of a 4-issue story arc, where the Magia gets a hold of Iron Man. We meet Whiplash. AIM gets involved because the Magia was trying to steal a weapon from AIM, so they get in a tussle. So this is the culmination of that. So actually, in this issue, we don't see much of the Magia because during last issue, AIM actually got a hold of Iron Man from the Magia's gambling boat. So we don't really see the Magia too much in this. It's mostly Iron Man fighting AIM, trying to get out of AIM's clutches. If you remember, AIM was ramming the Magia's ship, right? So that's why you see all these people, all this water flooding in, all these people trying to get off the boat. The boat's kind of tipped sideways. Jack and Rose are on there somewhere, never letting go of the door. But yeah, so Iron Man falls into the clutches of AIM. Now, one thing that I thought was really cool that I am interested to follow up on was in those last stories with the Magia, we kept hearing about the Big M, who was basically the leader of the Magia, but we never saw who the Big M was. Well, we learned in this issue that it's actually Whitney Frost, who we've only just met recently in the last few issues, and we don't know much about her yet. She's been sort of hanging around, just making it look like she's one of Tony's groupies. Jasper Sitwell actually saves her from the Magia's ship, and she's acting very innocent. Oh, thank you, I was here to find Tony, that kind of thing. Well, actually, in this panel, I failed to find Tony Stark, but Jasper Sitwell may do as well. He also has secrets. He also has access to the secrets of Stark Industries, and he'll be even more vulnerable to my charms. Meantime, I have an organization to rebuild, an organization that needs Stark superweapons. With them, we need never suffer such a defeat as we did tonight, and I can again assume my rightful place as the Big M, head of the Magia. We'll see more of Miss Frost in the future. And that's it. So that's it for the Magia for now. But I thought that was really cool. So, I'm interested in learning more about her. But I actually kind of thought it was cool because this is the 60s still. We're in 1968. And Marvel didn't like women in the 60s. I mean, the way they write their women characters is terrible most of the time. So I really liked it that a woman is the bad guy, because most, up until this point, it's everything in comics is mostly male. There's a few female superheroes. Mostly the female characters have been relegated to love interests like Karen Page and Pepper Potts, and of course Gwen and Mary Jane, those kinds of things. So it was really cool to see a female bad guy. And then we had, Black Widow for a little bit, and there's been a couple. But it's cool to see, like, a female be the head of a criminal organization, and I can't wait to see more of her. But we don't get that in this issue. The rest of it is just Iron Man versus AIM. Now, what AIM wants with Iron Man is they want to basically stick him in this giant scanner, and they want to scan all of his armor, and then they've basically got the 60s version of a 3D printer, and they're going to replicate his armor. And they actually managed to make 3 copies of his armor. So Iron Man, you can see the perfect example. This is the crux of the issue. Iron Man versus 3 Iron Man copies. But what they quickly find out is a copy isn't always as good as the original. The copies didn't come out perfectly. The armor, you can see here, the 3 different suits of armor that they copied, they're malfunctioning. And Iron Man is able to dispatch of them pretty quickly. So, nice try, AIM. It didn't work. But that is and Iron Man gets the way at the end. He escapes AIM at the end. So, this is a good issue. It was a fitting end to the 4-part AIM/Magia story that we've been reading. And it was a good first issue for Iron Man. So I really, I kind of like this one. I like this one a lot. Now, next issue that I read today, I didn't like as much, but we'll talk about that next week. A little teaser there for you. All right, now moving on to Captain America number 101. So Captain America is now in his own title, starting with Captain America number 100 that we read last week. Of course, he continued the numbering from Tales of Suspense number 99 was the last one of that. Captain America, it was renamed Captain America with number 100. So this one features the return of the Red Skull and the return of these robots called the Sleepers. So in Tales of Suspense number 72 to 74, we got a 3-part issue where the Red Skull actually awakens these 3 robots called the Sleepers. And honestly, they're these big dumb-looking robots that were built during the war, World War II, and then hidden away so that they could be reawakened and take over the country or take over the world. They could combine into a bigger, dumb-looking robot, but it's like a sleeper cell. It's sort of laying dormant for a year. What was it? 20 years back then. And in those issues, Captain America was able to stop them. So this issue, the Red Skull actually reappears and is trying to awaken the 4th Sleeper, which is another dumb-looking robot. We get a little bit here about how the Red Skull was actually able to survive his and Cap's last encounter. They thought that he was on an experimental submarine that exploded, but you can see here in the bottom right panel, this right here, he managed to get into an escape pod or escape sub and escape. Surprising no one. So Cap works with Nick Fury a little bit to figure out where the Red Skull is. He dons the Stay Puffed Cap suit and as a way to jump out of the plane. He deals with a bunch of Red Skull's thugs, and then he realizes, oh wait, hey, Red Skull, you're back. Weird. And then we meet the 4th Sleeper. This is, like I said, it doesn't look physically as big, but it is pretty powerful, and it can basically the blasts are beginning. That means he'll soon erupt. You make him sound like a volcano. That's what he is. At the command of the Fuhrer, before he perished, I created the 4th Sleeper, with the power to erupt and destroy anything. So Cap and Red Skull are trying to escape. They get locked in a like a hatch, like a little underground room, and the sleeper actually does erupt here and starts to destroy the island that they're on. So basically, think of it as they're trapped on an island and a volcano erupts and they can't get off. They do get out of the little room that they're in after they fight a little bit, but at the end, we see Captain America sort of just floating away. And so we'll have to see next issue that we get a little bit more Agent 13, who we still don't know her name, or at the time, we still wouldn't have known her name. But we'll get a little bit more of her. She's still worried about Cap, and Cap is floating away. And we'll have to see what happens to him. I'm pretty sure he'll live, though. That's a little bit of a prediction. I'm pretty sure he's going to live. All right. So we're going to move on to Daredevil number 40. This is the second part of a story that we started last week with the Exterminator and the Unholy Three. If you remember last week, I talked about, it was kind of a weird story because this random bad guy called the Exterminator has this temporal weapon. It's like a gun that you shoot it at people and it displaces them in time. And it looks like they vanish, but they're really just displaced in time. So at the end of last issue, Foggy's girlfriend, Debbie Harris, is one, along with a couple other people, a police officer and a couple other folks. They were shot with the gun, displaced in time, but Daredevil was still able to sense them, so he knows they're not gone. He just has to figure out how to get them back. And the way he does that is going after the Unholy Three, since they were the ones that shot her. They tussle, they mix it up a little bit. Daredevil actually gets shot with the gun himself. So all these pages that we're flipping through is just a fight between Daredevil and the Unholy Three. And then we get this page where Daredevil is hit with the gun and he is displaced in time as well. It's kind of a weird... Gene Colan does a pretty good job depicting this. You just kind of have to sort of check your brain at the door and just... Almost like... I kind of got like a weird, like the Flash when he goes to the Speed Force. It's just, it exists out of time, right? It's just this weird place, and that's where Daredevil is. So he actually sees a Debbie Harris and the police officer, the two other guys who have been banished to this sort of limbo state. Couple more officers get blasted there as well. Foggy, meanwhile, is just... Oh no, Debbie's gone. Foggy gets the bright idea. He wants to draw out the Exterminator in the hopes that the Exterminator can help, or in the hopes that he can convince the Exterminator to free Debbie. So basically what he says he's going to do is he's going to put an ad in the paper saying that he knows who the Exterminator is. And he's going to reveal his identity. Now, he doesn't really know who the Exterminator is, but he says he is because he knows that's gonna make him bite, and they're gonna go after him. We get more of Daredevil in the weird limbo dimension, and we do see, it's kind of weird, kind of cool, that, we saw in the last issue how he blasted, I think it was Ape Man, like 30 minutes into the future. So he disappeared for 30 minutes, and then he reappeared. Well, that's what's happening here is when Debbie and the other characters were shot with this gun, it was only temporary, and they were eventually going to vanish back in. Now, we'll see what happens with them next issue. But Daredevil is, you know what? The part where I said that Foggy, was that this issue? Sorry, the part that I said where Foggy... Yeah, my bad. The part where I said that Foggy says he's going to identify the Exterminator, that actually happens next issue that I read. I read that yesterday, so I got that a little bit mixed up. So it starts to run together a little bit. So that's actually next issue, not this one. But it is kind of cool. Daredevil is left by himself in the sort of the limbo dimension, and he doesn't know how long he's going to be there, which I found interesting. I was thinking, wow, how is he going to get out of that one? That's kind of clever. Like, how is Daredevil, a street level hero, gonna deal with time displacement? Spoiler alert, he does get out, and it's a little bit silly, but we'll cover that next time. We'll cover that next week. We're going to move on to Avengers number 52. Now, this one was an interesting one because this features the first appearance of Black Panther on the Avengers, or the first time Black Panther has appeared in an Avengers comic. This is also the first appearance of the Grim Reaper, who is Wonder Man's brother. Now, we actually don't get like an origin of him, which I thought was a little bit weird. I'm sure that's going to come at some point. But he just sort of shows up, and he wants revenge against the Avengers because he believes them responsible for Wonder Man, his brother's death. So, what happens is Black Panther, who I think this only lasts a couple issues. He's got his mouth is cut out of his mask, and I've never seen that before except for this issue and the next couple that it's like that in, and then after that it goes back to being the full mask, and we never see it again. But we start off with Black Panther actually arriving at Avengers Mansion to take his place on the team. But when he gets there, the Avengers, it's kind of funny because he has to go through this, instead of just walking through the front door, and I'm not really sure why he doesn't do that, he has to go through these like booby traps in the Avengers Mansion. And luckily, there's like 4 different panels where he says, "Good thing Captain America told me about this, so I know how to get out." Cap told him about all the things, I guess. So he has to go through all these booby traps to get into Avengers Mansion. And when he gets there, it looks like the Avengers are dead. So here's Black Panther, and don't forget, Black Panther is still really the only heroes that know about him. The only people in the Western world that know about him are the Fantastic Four and Captain America. Nobody else really knows who he is. Ergo, he's standing over the body of the supposedly dead Avengers, and then Jasper Sitwell walks in, doesn't know who Black Panther is, and assumes that Black Panther is the one who killed the Avengers. So, this whole issue is Black Panther has to redeem himself. He has to clear his name. He has to defeat the Grim Reaper. He has to figure out who killed the Avengers, and then what are we going to do about it? So, a lot of it is the Grim Reapers. We get the backstory of what actually happened. The Grim Reaper, like I said, he blames the Avengers for the death of Wonder Man. He attacks the Avengers. He's able to defeat all of them. Well, I say all of them. It's just Hawkeye, Goliath, and Wasp. It's funny because we get... I didn't even think about this till right now. So right here, that second panel, we get a flashback into what happened between the Grim Reaper and Avengers. During that flashback, we're in the flashback. We get another flashback down there in the bottom right about what happened with the Avengers and Wonder Man from back in Avengers number 9. Gosh, I didn't realize it was that far back, but I guess it makes sense because Iron Man and Thor, those guys were still around. This was pre-Hawkeye, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch, which was number 16. So I didn't even realize that. We get a little bit of a flashback inside of a flashback, right? So Black Panther goes to, he goes to clear his name. He mixes it up with the Grim Reaper and is actually able to defeat the Grim Reaper and use the Grim Reaper's scythe to revive the Avengers, because turns out the Grim Reaper didn't actually kill the Avengers. He just slowed down their vitals. So we've seen it in TV and movies where, I'll slow my heart down to 1 beat per minute, and that way it'll look like I'm dead, but I'm not really dead, and you can revive me later. Well, that's what this was, basically. So Black Panther did what all the other Avengers couldn't, and defeats Grim Reaper, uses his scythe, and revives them, and takes his rightful seat at the table, literally up there, with the Avengers. And it's pretty cool. I really like the Black Panther. I hope that this is the shot in the arm that the Avengers needs, because for roughly 50 issues now, the Avengers hasn't been great. But we're about to get into the good stuff with Vision, with Yellow Jacket, with Ultron. It's coming up. And next issue, we get the Avengers versus the X-Men. So that's going to be pretty neat. So I liked this one, and I'm hoping, I talked a little bit about it last week, but I'm hoping that this title is on its way up, because it's been, comics are good and bad. They have their ups and their downs. This one's been down for most of its run. I'm hoping we're about to start to see it taking off now, because I think, we're getting close to Cap coming back. We're getting close to Iron Man, and I think Thor coming back. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong about that, but so keep an eye on this one. It's about to start getting good, I hope. All right, so Strange Tales number 168. This is a double feature between Doctor Strange and Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've only been reading the Nick Fury stories. Nothing against Doctor Strange. I just didn't really feel like reading Doctor Strange. I just wanted some spy stuff. So I just wanted some Nick Fury stories. So let me, give me 1 second here. This doesn't really do a great, I think it's right in here somewhere. Oh, perfect. The Nick Fury story was in the back half of this book. It's usually been in the front half, so I'm not really sure why. But so this is, like I said, this is the last issue of, well, it's the last issue that Marvel Unlimited has until like 178, I think, with Adam Warlock for a few issues. But this is the last time we see Doctor Strange and Nick Fury together, or a double feature with those two in this book. Doctor Strange is, he's going to break off into his book, and I don't think I'm going to read that. And Nick Fury is going to split off into his book, which I will be talking about, I think, in 2 weeks. I think there was a break. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm not going to read it this week, which means I won't talk about it next week, but the week after that. So this is wrapping up. This is the end. If you remember, we've been on this Yellow Claw storyline for a long time. He brought in Jimmy Woo to fight Yellow Claw. Yellow Claw bested Nick Fury like a dozen times, basically. Yellow Claw nearly destroyed Manhattan. Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. stopped him. At the end of last issue, which was basically the end of that whole story, we learned that Yellow Claw was actually a robot built by Doctor Doom, and it was a really weird ending. And actually, last week I mentioned, they almost kind of implied that none of it actually happened. That it was all Doctor Doom just sort of playing the whole story in his head. And we had like character pieces on a board. You had a Nick Fury and a Yellow Claw and a Jimmy Woo and a Suwon and all those guys. He had little character pieces on a board. So it kind of made me think, oh, maybe that didn't even really happen. Maybe Doctor Doom was just imagining it all. Well, we do get confirmation in this issue that yes, it did happen. This was a weird, I'll go ahead and tell you, this was a weird final story to wrap up on. Like, I thought that either we were going to get a little bit more of the Yellow Claw story, or we were going to get a final issue that sort of reflected on the whole thing, and maybe Nick Fury reflecting on his role as director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and maybe he was going to set up for future adventures in his own title. But nah, instead, he gets called away. There's like a weird alien who looks like Adam Warlock. It's not Adam Warlock, but it looks like it. Gold skin, blonde hair. This weird alien lands in New York and offers Nick Fury this device that it almost sort of reminded me of the what was it, the Dreamstone in Wonder Woman 1984, and I was like, oh no, don't do this again. But it turns out that this alien actually was, instead of an Adam Warlock looking thing, it turns out that this alien was whatever that thing is down there. And this alien also chars Dum Dum and Vanessa, Countess, what was her name? Countess Vanessa. I can't remember her name because we haven't heard it too much. But the alien actually vaporizes them into dust, right? Which is pretty scary. He reveals his true form. He takes this headband off of the alien, which reveals his true form. Nick Fury puts it on, which turns him into this. So this is Fury right here. Fury actually turns into this weird alien in order to fight the bad alien. It looks like the city's going to get destroyed. And then he wakes up. And we get that. That's the last panel we get of Nick Fury in this title. What? That's it. Like, that was such a weird story to end the whole thing on. I have no words. I don't know. I don't get it. Like, it would have been better if Nick Fury's run on Strange Tales had ended last issue. That would have been a pretty neat way to go. But instead, we get this. This was not good. I mean, I didn't like it. I just thought it was really weird and a weird way to end. So, but that's it for Strange Tales. We're done with that one. So we'll be picking up Nick Fury in a couple weeks. I don't know if I'm going to stick with that. The Marvel Unlimited app only has 1 through 3 and then like number 5 or something like that. But I actually bought the Marvel Masterworks edition on Comixology when it was on sale for $1.69. So I have issues 1 through 15. So we might read all 15 issues. Like I said, I'm starting to get a little bit overwhelmed with books because it takes a long time to read these Silver Age books. And reading 2 of them a day, having to take screenshots and write about them, it actually kind of causes me to not read more of my current books, which I really want to do. So, I don't know. I'll start into it. We'll see how it is, and I might drop it. But that's it. Strange Tales is done. So we're going to move on to Fantastic Four number 74. This one features the return. Well, not really return because we just saw him, but this one features Galactus and Silver Surfer and the Punisher. More on that in a minute. Bumpkins. What? The Punisher didn't show up until Amazing Spider-Man in the mid-70s. How was he in a Fantastic Four book? We'll talk about that. Basically, what's going on is that Galactus hungers, and he is looking for a planet to eat, and he wants to. He sort of excommunicated. He banished the Silver Surfer to Earth after the big fight way back in what was it like Fantastic Four 49 or 50. I always get 48, 49. I always get the numbers right around there mixed up. So he banished Silver Surfer to Earth, but now he wants him back. Baby, I've changed. Come back to me. So he wants Silver Surfer back, and he sends this android called the Punisher to find the Silver Surfer. Now, Silver Surfer realizes, oh shoot, if this creature is coming to find me, that means Galactus is back. That means Galactus is hungry. That means he wants my help finding a planet. And if he's that close to Earth and he's that hungry, he may actually just take a big old bite out of Earth. So they realize, see right there, it is the Punisher. Frank Castle looks so weird right there. So Sue is still on maternity leave, so to speak, because she's pregnant. So this one is Reed and Johnny and Ben and the Surfer fighting the Punisher, which is just this alien, this robot alien thing that Galactus sent to find the Surfer. And the whole thing is basically just them fighting it. It's extremely powerful. They have a really hard time defeating it. Reed gets in the mix. He tries to keep it hidden from Sue because he doesn't want her to get all stressed. So he leaves her behind, her and Crystal behind, and they all fight the Punisher. And it's basically just that. It's just them just a big slugfest between those 4 and this alien, this robot of Doctor Doom's. This page is cool. Old school, like Jack Kirby, Galactus. It doesn't get a whole lot better than this right here. I really, really liked that page. That's awesome. And that's like the Galactus that we know. The early appearances of Galactus, he was more in like a brown and something suit, and he had the G on his chest. This is classic Galactus right here. I love it. And, basically they managed to defeat the Punisher. I mean, that's it. They just fight him, is all it is. Galactus calls the Punisher back, and he leaves. Oh, no, he doesn't leave. I'm sorry. He employs a cosmic life probe to bridge the void from here to Earth and unerringly reveal the place where I shall find the Silver Surfer. I actually thought that this was going to continue because Giant spotlight in reverse. It's coming from out in space. It can only mean Galactus won't give up till he finds the Surfer, and if he does, the world may never be the same. But then next issue we go to the microverse. So I'm a little bit confused as to whether this story goes on to the next issue or what. I don't really know. But Galactus, I was wrong. Galactus didn't leave. He recalled his robot, but he didn't get the Surfer, and he's still looking for the Silver Surfer. So I don't know what's going to happen if Galactus is going to take a bite out of Earth, or I don't know why they go to the microverse to try to defeat Galactus if he's still there. I'm not sure. But this was a good issue. This was a pretty action-packed. There was a lot of punches thrown, and a lot of fire thrown, and a lot of clobbering times, and all that stuff. So I like this one, and I'm interested to see what they do in the microverse. The quantum realm for you MCU people. Well, I'm one of those people. Well, I mean you people. I'm one of those people. All right, and then the last one we're going to read is Captain Marvel #1. Now, this is not Carol Danvers. This is not the movie Captain Marvel. This is the original Kree Captain Marvel. First appeared in Marvel Superheroes #12, which I did read a couple weeks back, whatever month of publication that was. I think it was a couple months before this, which means I read it a couple weeks ago. And I did post about it on these accounts. I read Marvel Superheroes #13 as well, which I did not post about, but I should have, because that was the first appearance of Carol Danvers, the future Captain Marvel, but she's not Captain Marvel here, and she won't be Captain Marvel for like 9 more years. So we're not going to see that anytime soon. But I thought it was interesting enough. And the Marvel Unlimited app has all the Captain Marvels of this series. So I thought, hey, let me just, I'm a glutton for punishment. Let me add this one to my digital pull list. And I'll try out Captain Marvel every week. Because I actually don't know a lot about the history of the original Captain Marvel. And his history with Carol Danvers. And even his history with the Avengers. And just all that. And all the stuff with Rick Jones. I actually don't know a lot about that. Just like super high level. I don't really know the details. So I thought, you know what? Let's just read it. Let's just try it out. So to catch you up to speed on this issue, Captain Marvel, his real name is Mar-Vell, M-A-R-V-E-L-L. It's not Marvel, it's Mar-Vell. He is actually a captain with the Kree, who we have heard about in Fantastic Four. They're a race of aliens, basically. He comes to Earth. A few of them come to... Well, he's the only one that actually comes to Earth, but he's with some other Kree as well, orbiting the planet. And the reason they do this is because of what happened in an older issue of Fantastic Four. If you remember, I don't even remember what issue it was at this point, but there was an issue of Fantastic Four where they actually fought the Kree Sentry number 429. And let me get my notes here. Just want to make sure 459, excuse me. Kree Sentry number 459. The Fantastic Four, it was a sentry placed... sort of hidden away on Earth thousands of years ago, however long the Kree were on Earth. It was a long, long time ago. And he was there to guard the Kree outpost. Well, he was found, he was awakened, the Fantastic Four fought him and defeated him. But this is looked at as a great disgrace by the Kree. So the Kree come to Earth to exact their revenge on Earthlings. Okay, so that's why Mar-Vell was there. But he quickly sort of realized that, the Earthlings aren't so bad. He was also, I can't remember, the guy that Jude Law played in the movie. Jan Rog. I had it right before I said it. That guy, anyway. He is on the ship orbiting the planet, and... he basically wants to double cross Mar-Vell, take him out of the picture, because there is a female character. Remember what I said earlier about female characters being relegated to the love interests? The same is true here. So there is a character named Una, and U-N-A is how you spell her name, and she's in love with Mar-Vell, and Mar-Vell is in love with her. But Jan Rog, that's what it is. Jan Rog is in love with her. He wants Mar-Vell out of the picture so that he can get her. Seems pretty petty for like this advanced alien race, and but whatever. So what he does is, and keep in mind this is happening over the course of Marvel Superheroes number 12 and 13. Yon-Rogg basically activates the Sentry and turns it on Captain Marvel or Marvel. So this issue continues that story, and it's basically the whole thing is just a fight between Captain Marvel, who still hasn't quite adopted that name yet, but we're gonna get there, I'm sure. He's also taken a job. He's adopted a secret identity. Walt Lawson is his quote unquote human secret identity, and he has a job working at the base where Carol Danvers is a head of security. But this whole issue is basically Captain Marvel fighting this big Sentry. This Sentry is super powerful. It's really hard to defeat. The Fantastic Four only nearly did it. Was able to defeat him. Here is where you can see Yon-Rogg on their spaceship. Una is, or I don't know if it's Una or Una. Maybe it's Una. I'll call her Una. Una Thurman? I don't know. He's got her tied up because she doesn't want her contacting Marvel. So yeah, I mean, it's just a big fight. The military's there. They try to stop the Sentry. They have no luck doing it. Marvel is actually renting a hotel room or a motel room, and he's poking around. The guy that runs the place is poking around Marvel's room because the military came by asking about him. So, he's at the risk. Marvel is at the risk of being found out here. This only just more. We're going to get more of this next issue. This doesn't have. There's not a lot of this here in this issue. But there's Carol Danvers. It's really cool to see Carol Danvers pre Captain Marvel. I've never read any I've never read any Carol Danvers pre her being Captain Marvel, before her being Captain Marvel. So it's cool to see her. She is the head of security. So that's pretty cool. Again, to see a female character. One, we saw a female character be the head of a criminal organization. Now we see a female character be the head of security. That's cool, especially for this being the 60s. So we see her. But like I said, she's not going to be Captain Marvel for a really, really long time. So Captain Marvel and Carol Danvers, he has to sort of protect her while he's trying to figure out how to destroy the Sentry as well. He does manage to do it. The Sentry is self-repairing too, which is pretty cool. He can basically just pick up all the parts that have been blasted off of him. He can pick them up, stick them on himself, and it repairs himself. But Captain Marvel is actually able to destroy the Sentry by basically blasting a small hole in it, and all the pieces inside of him, as they're trying to repair, they actually sort of fold in on themselves. It's kind of weird, but that's the way they explain it. And you can see here, he sort of implodes. That's essentially what happens, is this giant Sentry implodes instead of explodes. Meanwhile, we see Ronan the Accuser, because remember, this is all Kree stuff now. Ronan the Accuser gets onto Yon-Rogg and said, you jeopardized a mission because of personal grievances. Don't do that again. And that's it. So far all we've seen of Captain Marvel is just this one story of him coming to Earth and fighting the Kree Sentry. Next issue, the Super Skrull shows up. So there's a lot of story here to tell, and a lot that I'm not familiar with. So it's going to be pretty interesting. I think he stays in the green and white suit for like 20 issues or so, and then he gets the traditional red and blue, which is what Captain Marvel sort of based her look off of. So that's going to be really cool when we get there. But this is pretty good. This doesn't hold as special a place in my heart as things like Spider-Man and Captain America and Avengers and those things do, because I just don't know as much about this character. But I want to learn, so that's why I'm going to read this and stick with it. So we'll be reading this one on Saturdays along with Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's it, guys. I mean, that's everything that we read that came out in May of 1968. Real quick, let me break down the schedule, the schedule going forward. So, reading schedule on these accounts and what I'm going to be talking about starting next week. The schedule I'll be talking about. So it's actually going to be Amazing Spider-Man and Daredevil on Sundays. Because I kind of like the idea of Spider-Man and Daredevil being together, because I like that duo. Iron Man on Mondays, Captain America on Tuesdays, Hulk on Wednesdays, and then Avengers on Thursdays. I kind of like the idea of Iron Man and Captain America and Hulk being there together and then culminating in Avengers, right? Even though the Hulk isn't really in Avengers. Well, none of them are in the Avengers right now, but that will change eventually. So they are Avengers related. So I kind of like the idea of having all the Avengers stuff together there in the middle. We're going to keep Fantastic Four on Fridays. And then Captain Marvel and Nick Fury, sort of the sci-fi spy stuff. Sci-fi spy stuff on Saturday. Now, of course, Saturdays are also going to be days for other things. Like we've got coming up, we've got a 2-issue Spectacular Spider-Man magazine. So it's not really an ongoing comic. It was just like a 2-issue magazine-sized thing that we're going to read a couple Saturdays from now. And also the Silver Surfer is about to break out into his own comic. So I'm going to try to work that in as well. Like I said, Nick Fury only lasts for 15 issues. So that'll be, almost 4 months. But then that'll drop. And I don't know. So, but that's the idea. That's the schedule for now. That's the order of reading. That's the order that we'll be talking about the books next week. So, but that's it. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Thank you as always. Like I said earlier, if you want to follow along with me as I read these every day, you can. You can follow me either on Twitter at _ don't forget that _ Comics Daily, or _ Comics Daily IG on Instagram. That's where I post about all this stuff every day. And then, like I said, we come back here on Monday nights and talk about them with you guys. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for listening to me blab on about comic books for an hour. And until next week, I will see you later. Bye-bye.